What is up, everybody? This is Isaiah Negron, and you're listening to the One-on-One Podcast. This is the show that builds up leaders through transparency, purpose, and creativity. So welcome and come on into the office because it's time for your one-on-one. Let's get it. Yo, what's good, everybody? All right. Welcome to the One-on-One Podcast. My name is Isaiah, and I'm super excited to have you guys. So, where to get started? I'm super excited because this has been a dream come true in the making for the last several months. I've been talking with my wife, and we're just like, yo, we got to get this done. And so we transformed our whole master bedroom into this studio, and we moved our regular bedroom to our guest bedroom. And we just been kind of working on it. So I want to tell you more about it, but super excited for our guest, which is no one better than my wife. So
Hi.
I love you.
I'm just as giddy as you are on this.
I'm cheesing so hard right now because I'm just my producer's over there just laughing because he's like super excited.
This really is a dream that's coming to life.
I mean, how long we've been saying, all right, we're going to record. Something came out, can't record. Something came out, can't record.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're super excited. Anyways, just to tell you guys a little bit about how did the One-on-One Podcast, why is it called that? So, I mean, me and Boothing were talking, and I recently the last 6 months, 7 months, got into a corporate job. So I've been working in corporate, and I love it, right? And so one of the things that we do every week is we have one-on-ones with my boss. And so he's like, all right, this is a time of transparency. This is a time to, talk about what you're doing good in, what you need work in, what's the progress like. And it's just a place of drop the walls, right? And I was like, yo, that's dope. What if we did a podcast that's hey, let's have a one-on-one, but on different things about leadership, about life, and different aspects of a leader. And so Stephany was like, yeah, you should do it. And I don't think she thought I was actually going to do it until I actually started doing it. But anyways, we're here now. We're at the table, a table that we actually physically made.
Yeah.
We bought it for $10 and we refinished it. So it's
blood, sweat, and tears in this table.
Blood, sweat, and tears. Literally, we're out there all day. No, so here I am, and so up until this point in my life, I am 24. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Stephany. We've been married over 2 years now. Mm-hmm. We're on our third year. We took a big move of faith, and we moved from Chicago to Kansas City.
Good old Kansas City.
So we're in the Kansas City area, and it was a huge change, right? Yeah. And so God's been totally flipping my mind on what does it mean to be a leader, and in different veins, in different lenses. And one of those, which I want to just get right into it, is what does it mean to lead, not just as someone who's in ministry, not as someone who's a content creator, not someone in corporate, not a mentor, but how do you lead as a husband? And I was thinking about that, the most important role in my life will always and never, ever going to change. It will primarily be a husband and a father.
Yeah.
And so I guess I brought my wife so she can keep me in check. Hey, you can't be lying to the people. And so I don't want to keep everything super churchy, but I want to be honest. I am a man of faith. I love Jesus, but I want this to be accessible to everyone, all types of walks of life, and to learn from it, because all these things still apply.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I'm learning, is that how I lead in the office versus how I lead in ministry on Wednesday nights to how I lead at home. There are so many crossovers, and I kind of want to get into that. So, first question, all right, for you. What's your perspective on the question, or the statement, I should say, that's often made. Do you think that leaders are made, or are leaders born?
Good question. Good
drop.
question.
No, I'm just kidding.
Do I think leaders are made or born? I think a leader's influence is birthed, but a leader has to be made. So you are born with a natural influence, but you have to develop the characteristics of that leader.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, just mic drop. That was it. Okay. I thought she was
I'm already. No.
I thought she was about to just go all deep into that. No, that's so true. I 100% agree that, I look at my life and I'm like, I was leading in so many different things. Like, I grew up in church. I grew up as a pastor's kid. I was leading in some way, shape, or form in ministry. I was leading in my high school. I was like, doing spoken word, like, poetry. I was like leading a team, developing all that. But like, I realized that I had all of these skills I have the skill of influence, but I lack character. And when you have a lot of influence and no character, it is so much easier to fall.
You end up like David.
Like you'll have your mountain seasons, but when it comes to the valleys, they hit you hard.
Yeah.
And like, I'm learning now as a husband, like, you can't live at the mountaintop. You enjoy the mountaintop view. You enjoy what it's like, the views, the sights, everything that comes with it. But like, you have to remember that it's always a preparation for a valley. And a pastor once said, Pastor Larry used to say, like, your gift will take you to the mountaintop, but your character will determine how long you stay there. And so, with that being said, from your perspective, from your lens, from your view, what's your perspective of me leading us from your view? Like, how have I developed from little boy Isaiah, we were dating, to husband Isaiah? Like, what were the major shifts and dynamics did you see? Like,
well, okay, so the biggest one, and I love that you touched on, you are a man of faith, but you want this to be across all areas of life. And it's cool and unique because marriage isn't Christianity based. You don't have to be a Christian to be married.
Right.
And so the biggest shift that I saw in you as a leader actually came from me. And it's because I had to let you be a leader. For so long in our dating life, I had to be the one who I always made more money.
Facts.
I always...
Young man, there ain't no shame in that. Listen, there ain't no shame in her making more money, all right? She still bought me Starbucks, and I still took credit for it. No, I'm just kidding.
But I had to learn how to let you take me out of a masculine femininity that I didn't even know I was in. I had to let you be my leader. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest thing when you talk about in a marriage context is you're taking this person. And if you're anything like me, you married an independent girl. I wasn't always like that, but you married an independent girl who had a voice.
Yeah.
And so for me to feel like I didn't have control of that voice was very hard for me.
Yeah.
But I had to let you lead because I trusted you with my life when I said I do.
Whew. Yeah. I was thinking, like you said something like super interesting. You said masculine femininity that was like toxic for you. And I want to just clarify for anyone listening. It's not that being a strong woman is bad, but it's also about learning to
be taken care of.
Yeah, be taken care of. And like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like Stephany was always like, she had to learn when to be strong and like when to be strong, but also submitted, like not just to me as a husband, but like to God. And so I thought like that was super interesting. Like, it's nothing wrong with being strong, especially as a woman. I think we celebrate, we want you to be strong, be independent.
Yeah.
But like, if marriage is the goal, like learn to allow your husband to lead. And like, one of the things like super important is you allowed me to fall.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you allowed me to make the mistakes over and over and over again. And
You
you're
want to
like,
talk about the budget?
oh, let's not talk about the
Let's
budget.
talk about the budget.
Oh, man. Like, yeah. So even with the budget, like, we were poor stewards of our finances when we got married. Like, we just didn't know how to manage money. And I got so tired of micromanaging money that I was like, you know what? We're just going to figure it out. I got it. Don't worry about it. So Stephany, I was like, I'll take care of the money stuff. Don't worry. Just work, whatever. I'll work. We all put our portion.
Because I had to give it up. I had to give up that control. Because originally it was me, but I was stressing out so much to the point where I was taking out my anger in you.
Yeah. And it just became like this endless cycle of like fighting and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Because money ain't your issue. It's the communication of the money. That's the issue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Like, it's the communication of it. And so it took time for me to learn, like, bro, like, don't go out and get barbecue at Jack Stacks and pay $100 on dinner. Like, save that $100 and go buy some groceries. Like, it's not until now, like 2 years, like over 2 years in, that I'm like, yo, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even, you know, I went from making, glory to God, I went from making like $30,000 a year to making $65,000 a year in less than 6 months. Yeah. Like, God allowed me to have a position in my corporate job, and I was like, man, thank you, Lord. But like, with those bigger responsibility, like with that weight of like making more money, like, it also comes with the responsibility of knowing how to steward it, because God trusts you with what he gives you. And so I think me, like, as a husband, it's learning that you as my wife, women in general, like, I have to learn to communicate, not how I think you needed to be communicated at, but how you know that you needed to be communicated. Because it's like the same thing of like, well, I think that she wants acts of service because that's just what I think, but that's not really what's happening in your head. You're like, no, I need affirmation. And so like, that balance was like a back and forth for a while, because I was like, I want to do what only I know. But as a husband, it is so important to learn to like humble yourself, number one. And number two, it's adapt. Like, being a husband is a constant life of adapting. That's what it is. It's adaptation, like, to scenarios, to people, to like how you respond. Like,
That's a big one.
That's a big one, right? Like, so many times it's not even about it's not about what you say, it's how you said it. Because you can react to something, but it's healthier to respond. Like, it's a constant thing that men and husbands, like, we need to be so self-aware of these things.
Well, and leaders,
like, we need to be self-aware. It's funny you say that, because I actually had the same conversation with my boss a couple weeks ago. I was like, yo, like, one of the things I'm really learning this week is, even when I'm getting pushback on projects from people, I can't react. I have to respond, because people are watching.
Yeah.
And it's not that you have to be picture perfect, but like, number one, there's a level of professionalism, but like, there's also a level of just maturity.
Yeah.
It's not about having the front. It's about being mature. And so,
can you stay on that really quick? Where people, like, as a wife, I don't know if this is gonna hit, but I am watching you. And how you respond, not only to me, but to, you know, we do youth ministry, to the kids. You're treating your kids like that, or these kids like that. How are you going to treat your kids? Yeah. Or I'm watching you because I want to learn from you. And I think that so many times leaders are so afraid of losing the title of a leader that you don't give me the opportunity to learn from you. Yeah.
That's on point. That's on point. There's so many times. Sorry for the background noises, guys. No, you're good. Like, there's so many times that I'm in different veins, and it's so hard to remember that.
Yeah. There's people watching.
Like, not even there's people watching, but like, most importantly, your wife is watching. Like, you know what? Let's take it further. Like, your wife is not just watching you in front of the people, she's watching you behind the people. She's watching you in the closed doors. Like, hey, when you're upset, nah, bro, we're not going to gossip.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be real. Like, when you're hurt, like, it's so easy to want to just spew out all this like bleed on everything, as Rob would say, right? Rob would be like, yo, bleeding on everybody. Rob's my mentor. I love him to death. He'll enjoy that little shout out. But, you know, like, you can't just bleed on people that never cut you.
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, it's like, yo, like, be mature enough to handle it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about sucking it up and be a man. No, it's like, and from a faith standpoint, it's like, yo, go pray about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, or from a professional standpoint and faith standpoint, like, yo, have a mature conversation about it. How did it hurt you? What did it trigger?
The hard conversation.
Have the hard conversations.
Yeah.
And like, a lot of leaders struggle with hard conversations.
Want to know why?
Why?
Vulnerability. Because when you accept the title as a leader, you feel like you're giving yourself an exemption to vulnerability. I can't be vulnerable no more. Yeah. Because I'm leading. Yeah. But the greatest leaders will always show vulnerability. And that's, as a wife, I remember, I don't know if you, well, I know you remember, but you were at one of your lowest points in our marriage. Yeah. And you were hurting. Yeah. And for such a long time, you were trying to keep such a straight face. Yeah. You wanted to be strong for our family. But I saw you hurting. Yeah. And it wasn't until you came up to me and you were like, Steph, I'm hurting, that I was able to say, all right, let's go together. Let me carry you in your hurt. Yeah. Because I'm not, being a leader, you're so, a lot of times, you're so afraid of losing the position that you're losing feelings. You're losing where you came from. You're forgetting where you came from. Don't.
No, that's good. No.
And so you become this robot of like, I'm going to go and I'm going to create this and I'm going to do that. And you don't realize you're leaving a trail of blood behind you. Yeah. When if you would have just let your team come next to you, especially your wife. Yeah. Because I believe women are graced with the ability to be able to heal anything. Yeah. We're nurturers.
Yeah. I keep saying yeah. But yeah.
And going back to the masculine
almost took me out.
Femininity is that all stemmed from trauma for me. And so when I was seeing you act like my traumatic experience, I questioned your ability to lead. Yeah. Because you were bringing up all these things that I'm like, hurt. I thought I healed from.
Yeah, the pain.
Yeah.
It's so interesting you said that. I remember that night I came home, I was bawling. Yeah. I was crying.
And I was mad at you.
I was like, we were like arguing about something. And I remember I came home, I laid on my bed and I cried. Mm-hmm. But you're so right about vulnerability. Mm-hmm. And I think you said it's about losing position, but I think for a lot of men, for a lot of leaders, like it's not even like, let me speak to the husbands real quick. Like, it's not even just about losing position. It's about looking weak and feeling like your validity is gone. Yeah. Because a lot of people think that, oh, if I'm weak or if I'm broken, like, my validity is gone. People are going to see the human side of me. Mm-hmm. And I believe like that's why we go into all these different spheres of influence. We go into churches, we go into, business places and companies, and we see all these people with all of this like security and all of these armor bearers and all of these people surrounding them to protect them or to keep people away. And I really believe like to an extent, like there is a deep sense of like, we don't want people to get too close to see our humanity. Mm. And the strongest thing as a man and as a husband you can give is your transparency. Mm-hmm. Like Tim Ross says. Let's mention Tim Ross. He's like
inspiration.
He's been like the inspiration. He's been like my mentor on the other side of the screen. Yeah. But like he says, transparency is a superpower. Yeah. It's his superpower. Oh yeah. And I believe that if men can learn to tap into that, husbands, learn to be transparent with your wives. Yeah. Learn to be transparent. Like, I'm not saying that you have to like throw all your dirty laundry on the table. Yeah. I'm saying like understand the level of transparency, because through transparency comes transformation. Yeah. Like not just for yourself, but for people.
It's funny you say that, and I know we're going to say that a lot, but as you're speaking, I really want to talk to the women out there, because the wives out there.
Yeah.
Because don't you dare use that against him.
Yeah.
As a wife, I have every weapon against you. I have your weaknesses. I have your insecurities. I have them all.
The whole thing. The whole
all
arsenal.
Everything. And I can choose to use those to either build you up or tear you down. And so as a woman, you have to be very careful. And this is what I learned through our marriages. I can't use your vulnerability against you. I can't use what you took in a moment of authentic revelation of how you're feeling and use those to hurt you.
Yeah, it's no bueno.
And also to the husbands out there, honestly, let me be there for you. Yeah. Not me, your wife. But that's all I want to do is be there for you. And for so long, I think you had this thought process of, I need to be strong in every area of my life, including my marriage.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we had to face certain things that I really had to be let me nurture you. Let me do what I was designed to do.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Let me
walk in that.
Yeah. Because I've seen you lead. And here's the thing is that so many relationships nowadays are so what can you give me? What can I give you? Yeah. You're a celebrity. Let me get with you. I always question how many people were with other people because of that person's influence. Yeah. Celebrities who were with regular people because the regular people wanted something from them. Wanted the status, wanted something. And it's not for all relationships. I don't want to say it's for all relationships. But for me in particular, there came a point where I had to stop competing with you for that leadership position.
Yeah. Can you expound on that part?
Yeah. This is what that one-on-one is, right?
It's let's get into the nitty-gritty.
So you took my name from me, right? When we said I do, I dropped Jimenez and I picked up Negron. My children will bear your last name. Yeah. Even though I was the one that had to pop them out real quick. I was taking everything away, and that because we didn't know how to securely transition from singleness to marriage, I felt like I was losing a title. I felt like I was losing myself. Yeah. When I let you lead me, I felt like I wasn't a person anymore. Yeah. I felt like I had to give up every part of my being. And even though it was in my vows, and I remember telling you in your face, I will take this name with pride and joy. But then feeling well, what happened to Stephany? What happened with that voice? And what I failed to realize was that it wasn't taken away. It was being expanded. Because you take me places I would have never gone as Stephany Jimenez.
Man, that's real good. Let's hold on. That's super deep. I love that you weren't losing something. You were expanding who you are. Mm-hmm. And I think, that's deep. We need, people need to realize, when you get married, it's not you losing a part of yourself. Mm-hmm. It's you discovering another side of who you are. Mm-hmm. The person that you marry, the person that you're partnered with is the best part of that calling is discovering a new piece of who you are. Mm-hmm. I can't be 100% me unless I have my wife with me. Mm-hmm. You can't be 100% you unless I'm with you. Yeah. And it's not to throw weight on each other, but it's no, we're better together. Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's the church motto. But we are. Yeah, shout out to the church. But we are. Mm-hmm.
But I was also gaining your covering, because now what happens in a leader, and this goes beyond marriage, is when you come under a leader, that leader takes all your hits. So as a wife, this is deep, and this is something that husbands need to realize, that women need to know. Yeah. because we don't get this right away. But you start taking the hits that were made for me.
Yeah. And I love what you said, like that covering piece. Mm-hmm. Part of that and I want to speak to like the men, the husbands, soon to be husbands, whatever you are, like you have to learn that you have to learn to encourage her in the ways that she needs to be encouraged.
Yeah.
Like this whole conversation is what's going on in the background of her mind. I'm losing a piece of who I am. She may not say it. She may not even understand it. She may not even recognize it. But deep down, this may be a subtle feeling subconsciously. And now it's like, no, like we have to be a reminder that, hey, how can I help you become?
Yeah.
How can I help you become? And I think that's what a lot of people are missing. I see a lot of people, a lot of marriages, a lot of couples, and they're okay in these roles, these lanes. Mm-hmm. But like, what would it look like? And I just want to like not challenge you in a negative way, but what would it look like if you trusted each other to expand outwardly into the deeper characteristics of who you are, who God's called you to be? Mm-hmm. How much more crazy?
And that's why choosing is so important.
So important.
You can't settle. When it comes to marriage, woman of God, man of God, you cannot settle.
No.
Anybody.
No one.
Don't settle.
Christian or not. I don't care. Like
everybody got a punani. Can I say that
yeah,
on here?
You can say that. Like
you're going to get what you're going to get.
You're going to get it.
But do not settle for just bottom of the pole.
Like you're going to like, yo, sex, you're going to have, they're all going to give you sex. Like they're all going to pull their pants down, whatever. Like, but at the end of the day, like what matters most, our producer's laughing. It's so true, bro. It's so true. But like what matters most is what's resting on the inside of them. What matters most is even in her deepest, darkest place, can she still serve you by her continuing to be her? Does it still serve you well? Like, does it still bring out, can you still love her? Can you still do all the things?
Yeah.
Why? Because she compliments you even in her darkest place. Vice versa.
And even with respect, like so many relationships lack the respect of submission.
Yeah.
And also like the Bible talks about submitting into wives, submit to your husband as your husband submits to God. So if I don't see you submitting to God, why am I going to submit to you?
Come on.
If I don't see you trusting my daddy, why should I trust you?
Telling you. People missing it. Don't miss it. Catch it. Let me tell you. Yeah, it always catches me by surprise that so many people, like when it comes to being, I want to say this. This is really good. Like when it comes to being a husband or man and leading your wife, your family, your home, you have to recognize and be okay with the fact that it's not going to look like anything else. I remember watching an Instagram video and this lady comes on and she's like, I just want you guys to know, those of you who are dating, those of you who are, whatever, like, your relationship is not going to look like your parents. No. It's not going to run like your grandparents.
It can't afford to.
It can't afford to. Why?
Cannot.
Because who you are is completely different. Your DNA may be similar, but let me tell you, like, the gifts, the callings, the graces, like the jobs, the careers, everything that you will operate in and become is different. And that is okay. Like, and learning to live with those differences and be like, man, how can I be successful with her or him and work it out so that it can be a benefit to the kingdom, to the world, to the whatever it is, right? Yeah. Whether it's your company, like how can you work together? Like whatever, you know what I'm saying? So many people lose themselves in the doing of things and they forget to be. Like you can't do that. You can't lose who you are. Like you have to make it work for both of you, and it will. And because it's not going to look like anything else. But adding on to that, like you can't lose yourself in the trying to do and in the doing of a husband or in the doing of the man, whatever that definition is. You can't catch yourself in the doing of the pre-definition of what you thought was a man or what you thought was a husband. You can't live in that definition, but you have to like expand that out and like be.
Yeah.
You can't do, you have to be.
Yeah.
Someone's going to catch that. That was good.
Someone needs to hear that. Like, how many times in all general life do we just need to stay still? That's Bible, but that's just practical life. If you're so overwhelmed, and leaders get so easily overwhelmed, they forget to just sit there and say, okay, what is the last thing I was supposed to do?
Yeah.
And let's work up from there again.
Yeah.
Like, husbands, what is the last thing? If you're having trials and tribulation in your marriage, what's the last thing that you are supposed to do with this person? Because marriage has a purpose.
Yeah.
It's not just sex.
It's not.
Sex will not contain everything. It will not fix everything. Fix most things, not everything.
Man.
But in that context of a husband leading a wife, it's like, I need to see you just be. Because if I see that you're busy all the time, it becomes me being a burden because I got to schedule time with my own husband.
Yeah. How many people are sitting at home? No, reverse that. How many people are sitting in their jobs, in their work cars, in their offices, being present with everyone else, making the company succeed, making their team at work succeed, but is failing to lead their home?
Your home is on fire.
It's on fire. You have all the strategy. You have all the plans. You have all the resources, the connections, the assets, everything you need to make everything else around you succeed. But the one thing that's at the center is failing. And people wonder why it's so hard to get up every day. Maybe it's because the thing that's truly at the center of your heart is actually dead. We cannot help everyone else, and in the meanwhile, lead the thing that we are called to do the most is lead our homes. As husbands, we can't leave it to die.
And you can't forget that we're the only ones that's going to be there at the end of the night.
At the end of the night, like when you lay your head, guess what? That bit, like that, they'll fire you, no problem. No reason. Guess what?
Point system. You were late 2 times by 2 minutes.
Bye. See ya. But at the end of the day, no matter how many times you mess up, no matter how many times you feel like you're not good enough, you know who's going to be there?
Your wife.
Your wife. Your kids.
Your children.
The whole thing.
Your fur babies.
Yeah, we got 2 downstairs. So if you hear them crying at any episodes,
mind your own.
Don't mind if we tell them, yo, be quiet. But yeah, so, man, this is really good. Babe, thank you for being on my first episode.
You're welcome.
It's always a joy. Yeah. So, man, thank you for coming to the one-on-one about husbandry, about all things marriage. But, guys, stay tuned for another episode. Stay tuned for, we got plenty more things to come. We have topics like hard conversations and other people that we're planning. So stay tuned, share, like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is. And let's get it.